And I'm Executive Director of St. John's Church Foundation. And on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the staff, I want to welcome you here to St. John's Church tonight. Thank you all for being here. We're extremely lucky to have Mr. Khizr here to present his talk, This is Our Constitution, A Legacy of Liberty for All. Mr. Khan is the 7th speaker in our Walter W. Craigie Speaker Series. We are extremely grateful to Walter for his years of exceptional leadership and service with St. John's Church Foundation. Walter served for over 20 years as a trustee, and 10 of those years as president of the board. And in 2016, to honor Walter after his death, we created the Walter W. Craigie Speaker Series to keep his legacy, hard work, and vision alive. And through Walter's Speaker Series, we bring wonderful talks like Mr. Khan's talk here to St. John's Church, so we can discover different topics related to history. And we're very honored to have one of Walter's daughters with us tonight. I'd like to take a moment to welcome Franny Fitzgerald, and I'd also like to thank Walter's family for endowing his speaker series. So thank you for being here, Franny. It's very meaningful. I'd also like to recognize some very special guests in attendance. Chief Judge Roger Gregory is here of the United States Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit. Welcome, sir. And Mr. Atif Carney is here, who is the Virginia Secretary of Education. And with him, we also have the Deputy Secretaries of Education, Fran Bradford and Holly Coy. So thank you for being here. And I'd also like to recognize Emily Wilmer, who is the 24th rector of St. John's Church. This parish was founded in 1611 as the Henrico Parish. And when this church was built in 1741, the congregation moved here and has been worshiping here ever since. So it's an amazing legacy. Welcome, Emily. The nonprofit partner of St. John's Church is St. John's Church Foundation, and our mission is to spark a global appreciation for the role that Patrick Henry's Liberty or Death speech had in setting America on its path to liberty, and to preserve this historic site. By being here tonight, you are helping us with our mission, and I thank you so much for your support. And I encourage you to come back often. We have many different programs, our Liberty or Death reenactments, graveyard tours, etc. So you're welcome back anytime. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker. Mr. Khizr is a constitutional rights and national unity advocate. He was born in rural Pakistan and is the eldest of 10 children. He moved to the United States with his wife Ghazala in 1980. 6 years later, they became American citizens and raised their 3 sons in Silver Springs, Maryland. Mr. Khan attended Harvard Law School and is a member of the Bar of the United States Supreme Court, the Washington, D.C. State Bar, the New York State Bar, and the American Bar Association. He specializes in commercial civil litigation, health privacy law, and veterans, women's, and children's rights. Mr. and Mrs. Khan are also Gold Star parents. Their son, U.S. Army Captain Humayun Khan, a University of Virginia graduate, was killed in 2004 while serving in Iraq as he stopped a suicide attack on his camp. At the age of 27, he sacrificed his own life to save the lives of his fellow soldiers. And because of his heroism, he was posthumously awarded the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. Mr. Khan is author of 2 recent books. The first book is titled An American Family, a memoir of hope and sacrifice. And his second book, This is Our Constitution, Discover America with a Gold Star Father, was written for school students and their teachers. It is about the Constitution, what it says, and why it matters. So we're very honored to have Mr. Khan with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Khizr Khan.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Your Honor, if I may, thank you. Honorable Secretary Carney and Mrs. Carney, honorable guests, I am just so humbled to be standing. Never thought that a Muslim immigrant from Pakistan would be so honored to stand at this historical church. I am beyond humble, beyond, I just so honored. I am so honored to participate in Walter W. Craigie Speaker Series to celebrate our Constitution, legacy of liberty for all. I'm grateful to St. John's Church Foundation, the board and the trustees of the foundation, including the family of late Walter Craigie, and Walter Craigie, who served as a trustee of the foundation for 20 years, and this speaker series was created to honor his legacy and vision. Very special thanks to Sarah Whiting, Executive Director of the foundation, for inviting me to participate, and the wonderful staff of the foundation. But first, my sincere gratitude to our veterans and their families, our women and men serving in uniform today and their families, members of our law enforcement, members of our national intelligence, our civil service, our foreign service, our Congress and judiciary, and families serving along with these patriots. We are grateful to you for keeping the flame of liberty burning bright, and for your service to the nation with exemplary dedication, even during the most challenging circumstances today. I am humbled to participate in this sacred commemoration of the signing of our Constitution. It was the 17th of September last week that our Constitution in 1887 was signed. As our Constitution remains a reflection of the soul of America, reminding us of the past and giving us hope for a better future. As noted by the foundation and its introductory material, that one voice can change the world. Since becoming familiar with this blessed foundation, this blessed church, and your statement, I have made the statement of this blessed foundation part of my speaking engagements, part of my remarks, and I so humbly repeat those words to the entire country, and people are inspired and heartened. So thank you for giving me these words, allowing me to use these words in my remarks. One voice can change the world. Let me take you to March 23rd, 1775, where George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and other leaders are in the audience. What a blessed moment this is to feel where America was, where American spirit comes from. And swayed by Patrick Henry's liberty or death speech, liberty or death speech in this blessed church, made a decision that changed course of American history. It was at this blessed church that in Patrick Henry, American Revolution found its voice, a voice that reverberates to this day, ever mindful of this significant legacy. St. John's Church Foundation believes in these guiding principles. These are the words that I have borrowed from this blessed foundation's statement. Foundation believes in these guiding principles that we are the guardians and stewards of these hollow and sacred place. Our history is compelling and relevant. It informs our future. Our story is powerful and inclusive, educational and important to share. Our story shows that civil discourse and different point of view can bring people together. And create positive change. And above all, our history shows with ultimate clarity that in the course of human events, one voice can change the world. Thank you for allowing me to read the statement of this blessed organization and of this blessed foundation and this blessed church. Let me share how it all started in this immigrant's life. Like many other immigrants, not too long ago, I attended my citizenship ceremony with gratitude in my heart for being elevated in human dignity by this nation about which I only could dream since I first read the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States in 1972, when I was a law student in Pakistan, and even today remain in awe of the spirit of this blessed nation. I remember reading the Declaration of Independence while standing in my university dorm room, all 1,472 words. Yes, I have counted them by now. All 1,472 words of it, and all 18 grievances listed against the then king. How similar I realized these grievances were to the grievances of the entire colonized world. I implore America to read, even today under these circumstances, read the Declaration of Independence so you capture the spirit of the liberty, of the freedom, the role that Declaration of Independence and America has played in the life of mankind, as I explained. I know you must have read and heard many a time the words of the preamble to the Declaration of Independence. But I humbly ask you to hear these words one more time from me, so we truly can pay tribute to our Constitution. It's an honor for me to be standing at this sacred place and recite the preamble to the Declaration of Independence. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind required that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, and I apologize for, that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive, listen to these words, it will hearten you under today's circumstances, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpation, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. I then read the articles of our Constitution. Yes, Article 1, People's Congress. There's a wisdom behind these order. Article 1, People's Congress. People's Congress will be the supreme legislative body of this blessed democracy, will always perform sacred duty of checks and balance and oversight of the government, regardless of today's challenges to its sanctity. I thought then, and still believe, our Congress remains supreme institution of our democracy, and it was the intent of our forefathers to place our Congress as Article 1 institution of our system of government. Then I read the Article 2, yes, Article 2, the executive, the presidency, and then Article 3, the judiciary. And I understood how this civilized nation will lead the mankind by example of civility, tolerance, debate over differences, and respect for all opinion. Then came the best part, our Bill of Rights. I call our Bill of Rights a sacred document in which human dignities are enshrined. Human dignities are enshrined. I was then and remain today in awe of our First Amendment, the freedom of conscience, for which many nations and their leaders have come to America to learn how to uplift their people in human dignity. I have participated as a practicing attorney in Washington, D.C. I have participated in those conferences and have seen the hope and aspiration in the eyes, in the words, and in the minds of the world leaders, those who came to learn about our rule of law, about our First Amendment, about the dignities that are enshrined. I have participated in those conferences, those meetings of world leaders as a humble participant. Let me read it, the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Yes, freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. What an honor for me to be humbly standing before you as a proud resident of Charlottesville, Virginia, a blessed city of Thomas Jefferson and home of Mr. Jefferson's University, where our son, Captain Humayun Khan, went to school and upon graduation joined the United States Army, inspired by the lessons of public service of Mr. Jefferson. I also read with inquiry the 13th Amendment, abolishing slavery in 1865, and our 19th Amendment, women's right to vote, adopted in 1919, and wondered why these human dignities came so late. These years of adoption of amendments tell the world of our history of moving forward with the American experience, and that so much still needs to be done. Having compared our Constitution with other nations of the world, a few years ago, during my summer vacation, this was my hobby, that I used to allocate part of my vacation reading constitutions of the other parts of the world and compare them with our Constitution. I state, based on that exercise, that was over 10 years ago, out of interest, I state, there is none like the civility of our legislative process. Regardless of today's circumstances, you can connect the dots, but I assure you, I state there is none like the civility of our legislative process, our rule of law, our separation of power, our checks and balance, not perfect, but with most human dignities enshrined in these American values. Don't be disheartened when you see the violation of these values in press, in media, on display. But those are our American values. The Constitution of other countries grant their people what their government decides they deserve, but ours is we the people. We tell the government what it can do. Read the first 5 words of our First Amendment. Congress shall make no laws. I have taken these 5 words and I have not found any constitution of the entire free world which gives the people this power, which tells the Congress, Congress shall make no laws, a telling of American spirit. I wish you to ponder on these 5 words, why specifically these 5 words were placed at the beginning of our First Amendment. As we pay tribute to human liberty and freedom enshrined in our Constitution today, we remind ourselves how it was before American Declaration of Independence, so we can appreciate why America matters to the world. We are aware of the history that most of the world was ruled for hundreds of years by the kings, princes, dictators, authoritarians. Ordinary persons like myself was to listen to the dictator's decree, follow it silently, but only until the American Declaration of Independence in 1776. The gift that you have given to the mankind in Declaration of Independence of 1776. When America said, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, and pardon me for expressing my own opinion here, that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. For the first time in the history of mankind, Americans declared that they will self-govern as free people. Today we pay our utmost respect to that love of freedom, which did not come without significant cost to the original signatories to the Declaration of Independence. Most of you know the history. We express our most profound gratitude for their sacrifice, and since then, thousands of those who gave all at the altar of freedom so that we could enjoy the freedoms, the human dignities that mankind had yearned from beginning, dignities that are enshrined in our Bill of Rights. With gratitude in our hearts, we promise to them today that we will never forget them, and generations of patriots who gave us the freedoms we cherish. There are many veterans among us that have sacrificed their peace, their comfort, to make sure that our liberties are protected. We cherish today by sacrificing their all. As the vigilance of our national security leaders has shown and warned us that our adversaries have attacked our institution of democracy, our sacred system of elections, and our unity by sowing hate and division among us. Our adversaries of human dignity had shrewdly realized that one weakness in our democratic system, our lack of participation in our elections, in our election process. So they decided to malign our elections by sowing division and hatred among us. They have done same in other parts of the world with some success, but now the world has come to realize, like most of us, that America will not stand silently while corrupt dictators, authoritarians. I apologize if my voice rises. It is an expression of my sentiment. I want my voice to get where it matters, which is your hearts, and all the way to Washington. America will not stand silently while corrupt dictators, authoritarians, kings, and rulers continue to attack our sovereignty. If you want to see the proof of our realization, see the level of participation in the last elections. It is reported that in 2018 elections, a record number of Americans participated to protect our Constitution, our democracy, our freedoms from the attacks by our adversaries, and to shield American elections from cyber and social media interference by our adversaries. My blessed country has bestowed the highest honor, the honor of citizenship, upon me. It is my turn now, and every election henceforward, to participate not only by voting, but to remain engaged in our political process and by serving my nation within my capacity and caliber. When I became citizen like many others, I recited that oath of citizenship which new citizens recite. And I remember a certain part of it every day, which states that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I promise myself to obey all laws. Pay my taxes timely. Yes, that is, pay my taxes timely. That is part of the duty of every citizen. And participate in our system of democracy to strengthen it and keeping my promise to my country after 2016, even though it has been difficult at times, as each speaking engagement reminds the valor and sacrifices of many sons and daughters of America. Valor and sacrifices of many sons and daughters of America, like our son, Captain Humayun Khan, who gave everything for something greater than themselves in the service of this great nation. I have continued to speak for our Constitution, for our unity and democracy, as Humayun would have wanted us to do under the current circumstances. Today is my 258th nationwide and international speaking engagement. I have continued to speak also due to concerns expressed in one among thousands of letters you sent and I received since 2016. One particular letter was written by a retired military nurse with 20 years of service, including in Second World War in Europe. She wrote in the last paragraph her long letter to me saying, "Mr. Khan, continue to speak. Continue to speak to remind us that what is at stake. The similarities of intolerance, hate, and division, attacks on the most vulnerable community of immigrants and communities of faith, attacks on our places of worship, are so similar to the time of pre-Second World War in Europe. Had more people spoken then, mankind could have avoided the atrocities committed before and during Second World War. So continue to speak." And I have continued to speak. I humbly ask that you do same. Each and every one of you do same. Speak, organize, vote, and do your most what you can from your platform as dignified citizens of this blessed nation. In conclusion, I am a patriotic immigrant American. I am a Muslim also, but being Muslim is circumstantial to my calling. I am here to remind all of us the holy maxims of the Enlightenment and reason that we all can agree provide for a path to greater social justice. And here I pay tribute to the hard work and sacrifices of our civil rights leaders to uplift all of us in this blessed nation. So much more still needs to be done. So much more still remains to be done. Our neighbor is not to blame. Her hand is what we hold in facing the challenges of our changing world. I remind us the quote from Reagan's farewell address to the nation. I remember standing up in front of the television at home with the same awe I felt when I first read the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution in 1972. But this was 1989. Reagan had completed his second term, and in his farewell speech, he said, "I have spoken of the shining city all my political life, but I don't know if I ever quite communicated what I saw when I said it. But in my mind, it was a tall, proud city built on rocks, stronger than oceans." Reagan is talking about America, shining city. "Wind-swept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds living in harmony and peace. A city with free ports that hummed with commerce and creativity. And if there had to be city walls, talk about walls. And if there had to be walls, the walls had doors. And the doors were open to anyone with the will and heart to get here. That is how I saw it and see it still, Reagan said. Mine and every immigrant's story is like that of John Winthrop, an early pilgrim. Remember, they used to call immigrants pilgrim. You perform pilgrim to come to sacred place, like today is for me to come to your this blessed church. For me, it is equivalent to a pilgrimage. An early pilgrim seeking freedom of conscience and choice and finding the shining city on the hill. Now that shining city needs you and me and our voice so that it continues to be a beacon for all free-minded people like you and me and those who came long before to tell the world. We still believe in America. We still believe in America. Yes, we believe in the equal dignity as enshrined in our Constitution, our Bill of Rights. We believe in the dignity of every citizen. Again, happy 232nd year of adoption of our Constitution. God bless you, and God bless and protect the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Let me answer a few questions.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. We do have a few questions.
Yes, Sarah.
All right. So in your book, you talk about all of us being custodians of the Constitution. What do you mean by that, and how can we be better custodians?
Well, as I mentioned, that each and every citizen, for some reason, I have taken my citizenship a little too seriously, but I remind America to read not only just the Declaration of Independence, but your Constitution and your Bill of Rights. Believe me, if you would indulge in comparing your Bill of Rights, not perfect, people ask me that question, so you think that our Constitution, our Bill of Rights is a perfect document? Not at all. There's so much room. But each and every citizen that lives under this democracy, under our Constitution, we are the custodians. Whether we want it or not, we find ourselves, we are the custodians. When you see the challenges that we face today, challenges to our rule of law, challenges to our checks and balance, challenges to supremacy of our legislative institution, our courts, our rule of law, each and every one of us is a defender of those values. That's how the world sees us. That is how we, as citizens, a young person asked me that why doesn't every citizen of the United States take the oath of citizenship that you took? And I implore you to read the oath of citizenship that immigrants take. You will be inspired. You will be certain that whether you like it or not, you are the custodian of these values. You are the beacon of, because of these values, you are a beacon of hope. Even under these challenging circumstances today, you remain beacon of hope for the rest of the world, even today.
Thank you. You mentioned during your talk that you've given 258 talks?
Today is the 258th speaking engagement.
Well, okay, so my question is, what keeps you going?
As partly I mentioned that letter that came and the letters that keep coming. Thank you, Mr. Khan. Thank you for reminding us of our Constitution, of our Bill of Rights, how fragile these values could be, how fragile these liberties could be. We must remain engaged. We must remain within our capacity as defender of the Constitution. And since you invited me to come here, I have read Patrick Henry's speech and the statement of your blessed organization, which says that one voice can change the world. Each and every one of us has that voice, can change the world. Travel, I'm sure most of you have traveled throughout the world, and you will not find any country where the human dignities, liberties that are enshrined in our Constitution, in our Bill of Rights. Honorable Judge sits among us, and he will endorse my statement that there is no other nation on planet Earth today that has such a robust mechanism built in our rule of law, in our system of government, where our values, our liberties, our dignities are defended, are protected, so that we and our future generations continue to enjoy, continue to cherish. So it is that concern that keeps me moving. Most of my speaking engagements are pro bono. And I do work sometime whenever I find time to make living. But I tell myself when I'm very tired of that letter by the retired Army nurse that she writes to me that, Mr. Khan, continue to speak. Had more people spoken, we could have avoided the atrocities that were committed during and post-Second World War, atrocities against our Jewish brothers and sisters, and other rest of the mankind that suffered, could have been avoided had more people spoken. So I continue to speak. I feel as a human being sometimes exhausted physically, but then that letter inspires me. Such company inspires me that I assure you, based on these 257 speaking engagements, there is no other nation in the entire world that loves its Constitution as America does. When we spoke at the convention in 2016, and I reminded the nation of our Constitution by waiving it, I received a letter from Amazon sending a thank you note a couple of weeks later that, thank you, we have exhausted all of the publications. Twice. We are printing it third time. The reason I share these stories that America is the only nation in the world that loves its Constitution, for a reason, because Americans realize why they are beacon of hope. It was Second World War. The world stood at the brink of destruction. Guess which nation got up and said, we will participate, we will initiate that reconstruction? Guess each and every one of you is the custodian of that value of Marshall Plan for the rest of the Europe. with the money, with the resources, America said, we will rebuild Europe. Of course, there were economic interests involved, but still, it was that spirit of Marshall Plan. Just imagine if today we have issues of immigration, issue of climate change, and other issues, the violence, the education. Imagine if America is reminded that you're the custodians of that spirit of Marshall Plan. How about immigration Marshall Plan? Rule of law, of course, but immigration Marshall Plan. Violence Marshall Plan. Racial inequality Marshall Plan. We are capable. We have done this in the world. That is how the world sees us. And we shall, yet one more time. The time is coming. I assure you, I humbly say this, but I must say, I have seen the other side of the mountain. I have seen the sunrise. Remain hopeful. Each and every one of you, because of your care and concern in your heart, you're the custodians. You're the candle bearers of this nation. And the candle bearers don't stand on the sidelines, don't stand behind. They walk front and center. From our own platform, whatever platform we have, we and all of us are those candle bearers, and we walk front and center to make sure that we keep our legacy, we keep our values, we keep our role that we have been blessed to have in the history of mankind, to fulfill that role and leave a better America for our future generations.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Khan. I have a present for you.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. So every speaker who speaks in the Walter Craigie Speaker Series gets a T-shirt.
Oh, wonderful.
And shameless plug, they are for sale in our gift shop. Wear it with pride.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
But,
Thank you.
as we like to say, but wait, there's more.
All right.
So I'm going to give you this.
Thank you.
We are so grateful for your time and for sharing your love of the Constitution with us that we want you to accept this token of our appreciation, which is a gift in memory of your son, Humayun, to the Khan Scholarship Fund at UVA.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.